Hi, folks. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales in Southern California. That guy out there is
Eric Zandona in Florida's Emerald Coast.
Eric, and I are excited. And Eric just made me even more excited. We're going to taste and dissect Alipus. And this is San Miguel Aniversario. This is the 20th, and it's to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Alipus, which I was not aware that Alipus was as old as we are. Tequila. Yeah. The reason we're excited is take a look at this label. It says it's Mezcal Ancestral. The last time that we had any ancestral mezcal was Don Amado, which we had the whole line of Don Amado, and we fell over backwards because we love it. This is what's your rule of thumb, Eric? Because it's another style or within the category, and it's the division within the category. And you said to me, the difference between ancestral and artisanal is ancestral has no metal, basically.
Basically, there's no metal in the production of the spirit. So what's really exciting for me, I love the regular bottling of Alipus from San Miguel. It's one of my all-time favorites. So I'm really excited for this. But so they use wooden mallets to grind agaves by hand. Very labor intensive, very physically demanding on the men and women who do it. And so there's no metal contact there. And then they distill it, they ferment it in wood, and then they distill it in clay pots. And so the clay pot gives us really nice minerality to
it's full of wet cement. You know, now the plant they're using on this one is Tobola. So it's espadín, folks.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting to me because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think that Don Amado in olla de barro is that's what they call it. I think that's espadín. I hope it is. It's been a while since I've had any. I've probably gone by now, but so let's just pour this juice.
Yeah, let's do it.
What we're getting, because I broke the seal off camera here, and I'm gonna pour mine in a Stossel Jarrito for mezcal. This is at what, 47.5 ABV?
Yes. Yeah, 47.5.
47.5, folks. When you're starting to break, when you're splitting hairs, that's ancestral, folks. You know, 47, 48, más o menos, you know.
Yeah.
Más o menos. Lingering bubbles. And look at that. Look at how clear it is, though.
Yeah.
You know, we get some tequilas that are this shiny, and sometimes they have glycerin. Sometimes it's naturally occurring in the distillate.
Right.
Just beautiful to look at.
It is.
Oh, these are thick legs and tears. I would say this is a good indicator of what the mouthfeel is going to be like.
Yeah, I think so. It's got a really fantastic aroma.
Oh, it's
deep off the top.
It's deep.
It is.
But there's a fruitiness in there too, though, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and that's not uncommon from Tobola. You get this fruitiness, but there's this real depth to it at the same. There's a touch of like minerality that I think is coming through from the clay.
I was expecting a little bit more clay because I know Don Amado has more of the wet cement right on top, you know, and I love that. I just because I miss seeing it in tequilas, you know.
Yeah. But this is one of the things that, so when you're making mezcal in this real sort of traditional fashion, there are a lot of residual fats, right? We don't think about agaves having fat very much, right? We tend to talk about the sugar and all that. It's important for making the alcohol, but all of that, when you're taking the agaves, the roasted agaves, you're milling them by hand, and then all that fiber and juice gets fermented, and then all of that goes into the still. A lot of those fats are able to come through.
Well, isn't it true that they don't shave agave in when you make mezcal the way they do in tequila? You'll see the piñas, and they're almost, you see very little green on them.
Yeah.
And with Mezcal, you like to leave the green on there.
Yeah.
Some of those piñas are really spiky because that's additional flavor, right?
It's additional flavor, additional sugar, but then you also get some of that waxiness.
Yeah.
From the leaves. So I think a lot of that richness comes from this, real ancestral process.
I know that in tequila, the waxiness and the bitterness that the leaves have is frowned upon. It's not it's not an aspect. It's not an element that tequileros like to deal with.
Right.
And I don't think that the blue agave itself actually. I think these other plants are probably more richer in their benca fibers.
Yeah.
Than blue agave, because blue agave has been cloned now for years. So
right.
Maybe it's lost its gaminess when you get that cloned blue agave. This is I think this Tobola has got to be wild harvested too, isn't it?
My guess is that it would be wild.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm ready to take a sip. Yeah.
Let's go. There it is. Wow. Nice pepper explosion at to the back and the rear.
Yeah.
Beautiful finish. I love that fibriousness, that denseness.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting the wet cement. I don't know why it bothers me, but I'm getting a lot of the great plant fibers, that the fibrousness is coming through, and it's much brighter than I thought it would be. See, even Olla de Barro has a different style, different hand of the maker, different plant.
Right. And that's the thing, like I don't remember where the Don Amato is coming from, because there's a lot of clay pot mezcal coming out of Minas, which is more in the valley.
Right.
San Miguel is up in the mountains. And so that's going to affect the way things ferment and also just the tradition of the distiller.
Yes. Yeah, it's like baking. It's like trying to bake in Colorado versus baking in Florida, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But to me, it's got a really great aroma. It's the body to me isn't as viscous as the Los Nahuales that we just tasted.
Right.
It's got this giant explosion of flavor.
Yes.
Your palate, pepper, really strong. I would say some of the woodiness from the roasting comes through.
And again, folks, if you're worried about smoke and mezcal, there's none. It's virtually non-existent. So even the ones that have smoke, believe it or not, if it doesn't come across you won't even know that smoke is there until you start to taste it on your palate.
Yeah.
What I tell people, and maybe you'll agree with me or not, but the idea of using glycerin, it winds up coating your palate, whether you're using it in rum or scotch, or not scotch, but rum or sherry or whatever, or even some tequilas and añejos. It's there to coat your palate.
Yeah.
When I get smoke as an afterthought on some mezcals, you start to taste it on your palate, and it's almost like the smoke is an afterthought. It starts to act like glycerin. Then you start to taste it, and it's like you're not even swallowing, and you're still retasting what you just
yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the charm of the smoke, is it's an element that does its job. It helps to enhance the flavor profile, not to get in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this is a really lovely mezcal that I think it would pair well with fatty cheeses, but you could also do some barbacoa. And it would work really well. Again, this is one of the things that I've talked about before, right? With special batches of mezcal, right? It's meant for a celebration.
Right.
So you got to think party. You don't I could easily sip on this at night, just really kind of delve into it but these are also really meant to be, they're social drinks, right? The community comes together, you drink it together, you're at quinceañera, you're at the Saints Day Festival for your town, and you're with your neighbors and you're enjoying this. And so I think that's one of the wonderful things about like the mezcal culture of Mexico, is that it's almost always centered around sharing with other people. And so that, you know, take something special like this, share it with somebody, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more.
For sure. A graduation, a funeral, a birth.
Yeah.
You know, I had, when you get a chance, Eric, and maybe, and for those of you folks who are watching us, and by the time you see this video, it could be July, because we have so much content, and I'm doing, you know, you and I are going to be doing an open bar pretty soon with Tom Hall, with Tomas Mezcal. And I did an hour interview with one of the founders and owners of Brujo Mezcal.
Mm-hmm.
To have him tell the stories that he told about the people, it's the same thing that you're telling me. How you know he was there when they were sourcing these mezcals, and he's so passionate. His passion comes right through the screen.
Yeah.
And he sent me pictures that I kind of share on screen too. I kind of fumbled my way into screen sharing with Zoom, but he sent me some beautiful pictures. And he said the same thing. He said, you know, these mezcals, he said, they help at birth, they help in death. He was there at a birth. Somebody, a young woman had a baby, one of his master distillers, and he tells the story. And right behind the bed that she was on, you know, as soon as she gave birth, they gave her mezcal because it was medicinal. It was a way of restoration, of coming back into your being, you know, after having just given birth. And it's like, that's beautiful. This story, you got to watch him. His name is Javier. Right now his last name escapes me, but he's one of the owners and founders of Brujo Mezcal. It's an amazing hour and 20 minutes we spent. And just to see his stories and how the whole thing came across, it's exactly what you're telling me. And this Alipus, for sure. This is a, well, first of all, brand of promise, not in this category. This is an ancestral tequila, an ancestral mezcal. And I gotta say, Eric, I'm surprised at how bright the flavor are. It's not what I expected, but it's a delight, because that's just it. Every time you and I do one of these, we get surprised. It's a whole different ball game, you know, for this. Yeah. Wow. What kind of price point are we seeing? Do you even know what the price point is on this thing?
Yeah. So I think what I was seeing on Old Town, it's about 120 for the bottle.
That's cheap.
So the standard San Miguel from Alipus, I think, is in the 80s, plus or minus. And so this is, again, I don't remember what that one's, the agave is for the other, but Tobola tends to be a little bit more expensive agave. And with this anniversary blend, 47.5, I think it's well worth it.
Yeah, it's like you said, it really is a special celebratory bottle. You know, it's not to be, it probably wouldn't be here every day, but maybe the other line would be more suitable for what you're planning on. But this is like holidays, Christmas, baptisms, you know, all everything you mentioned and more. I love this. It is not exactly what I expected, and I'm pleasantly surprised. It's delicious. It's Alipus 20th anniversary San Miguel. It is ancestral and worth every penny. And and the master.
We just quick call out to the maestro, Don Felix Garcia, who made this in Solo de Vega.
Wow.
And excellent job.
It's excellent. Yep. Brand of Promise nominee in that category. Folks, that's our take on Alipus. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is
Eric Zandona in Crestview, Florida.
He's your tour guide for all mezcal, everything out of Oaxaca. You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like. If you're watching us and you've had this before, please let us know what you're doing with it, where you're buying it, how much you're paying for it, all that stuff. If you're listening to us anywhere where you download your podcasts, like iTunes or Spotify, thank you, and subscribe. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.